Some of the most influential anime in history comes from our feelings about humanity's expansion and our growing dependence and relationship with technology. The iconic Akira from 1988 not only showed us a crime-filled cyberpunk future, but also unintentionally went on to make a huge impact within the future. The Akira bike slide scene has gone on to be homaged and replicated by so many well-respected pieces of TV and animated media. Ghost in the Shell made its mark with its dystopian depiction of what it means to be human and what it means to have a soul, with the original film being so incredibly successful that it went on to have multiple sequels, TV series, and even OVA. Although one of the films is arguably best left forgotten. And of course, I couldn't go on without mentioning one of my favorite anime series of all time, Serial Experiments Lain. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Serial Experiments Lain. In this 13-episode series, we see a young Lain become enamored and consumed by the internet, or as the TV show calls it, The Wired. It explores the idea of us having different versions of ourselves online and using those to connect limitlessly with others, blending Akira-esque techno body horror with surrealist imagery that makes us question if Lain is truly a god or just a neglected child, a victim of the TV babysitter era of parenting. Animes of the 80s to the early 2000s had a lot to say and speculate about the future, and in that sense it mirrored a lot of the Western media of the time too. Films like Blade Runner, Total Recall, Fifth Element, and Judge Dredd. There was this global fascination with questioning our humanity in the face of growing technology. However, as is inevitable as time moves on, this media can become lost and forgotten, going from being an iconic film held in high regard to ending up on the shelf of a secondhand DVD store. And as a lover of film and someone who is keen on keeping hard copies of their favourite media, these unorganised rows of forgotten franchises are a treasure trove. In an age where censorship is being caught out in real time, I like knowing that I can consume media exactly as it was intended rather than having subscription services meddle with it. But what I wasn't expecting to find as I browsed another unassuming section of a CEX store was a DVD simply called Malice Doll, with additional text on the cover reading, "I am Doll and I will give you a kiss." I won't lie, there was a lot of thoughts going through my head as I scanned over the harsh CGI on the cover and the bold red 18 age rating. To be blunt, this could very easily just be a poorly rendered anime that had escaped someone's personal collection. It certainly wouldn't be the first or last time that something more hardcore had found its way onto the anime shelf of a CEX. But something about this DVD and the shockingly expensive £20 price tag had me interested. Why was this movie here? Who is the Malice Doll? And why the hell did the cover look like this? But like a siren song, I was inexplicably drawn to this disc, the contents of which I had no ability to comprehend. Yeah, I paid 20 quid for this DVD, and honestly, I couldn't tell you what I hoped to achieve by buying this. All I know is that it piqued my interest, and I had to know what this obscure 2000s anime had to say. And honestly, it's kind of a rabbit hole. And speaking of feminine adult media, I want to thank today's video sponsor, Bellesa. Bellesa is a bi-woman brand that centers women's health and wellness. After all, feminine intimacy has always been treated more taboo than its male counterpart. Often forgotten in important sex ed lessons, women's pleasure and enjoyment when it comes to intimacy is often put in second place. As an adult woman, it is exhausting living in a world that automatically decides if your body is vulgar or is there to be infantilized. Understanding and feeling comfortable with yourself is invaluable when it comes to fostering a healthy relationship with your body, as well as any current or future partners that you might have. It gives you the autonomy to feel comfortable voicing your boundaries, as well as communicating what you expect and want from somebody else. And in the spirit of giving, Bellesa is giving out free toys or gift cards to everyone who signs up to my giveaway down below. Bellesa has toys that cover all ranges of intimacy, size, and experience for all different body types. This includes their Pebble, which is easy to hold, has no annoying preset patterns, and can be tailored to your speed. Or what about the Air Vibe, which just like all of their other toys comes with discreet casing, is waterproof, and can thoroughly be enjoyed with its near silent noise. Perfect for much needed timeouts when traveling. As well as many other toys, including their discreet Flutter Vibe, and their very powerful Thump, all of which prioritize women's enjoyment and can be used solo or with other people. The Thump vibrates, suctions, and thumps. Basically does it all, especially thumping. And the Flutter Vibe has dual stimulation and has a flickering feature made from soft silicone. In an increasingly conservative environment that's constantly trying to backtrack and question women's agency in their adulthood, it's important to stay in control and understand what you want when it comes to heading to the bedroom. And so with Bellesa's powerful and discreet toys, it's easier than ever to know what you want and to understand your body. And so once again, be sure to check out the giveaway down in the description below, where you can either win a toy or a gift card from Bellesa. And once again, thank you to Bellesa for sponsoring this video.
I am Doll, and I will give you a kiss.
This anime is obscure, like really obscure. I thought my comfort anime of Dominion Tank Police was pushing the bounds of mainstream recognition, a certified cult classic in my eyes. But in comparison, Malice Doll really is the definition of mysterious. On the official IMDb page, there are only 5 reviews to be found, and just a pinch over 300 ratings. And on YouTube, there is only a handful of videos about this movie, with only 1 actual review being posted 15 years ago, and with neither of these reviews getting more than a couple thousand views. It's clear that Malice Doll has been forgotten in a tidal wave of cyberpunk media, but that's kind of surprising considering the team around its creation. The screenplay for Malice was written by Saki Sonobashi, and although this name may not immediately ring any bells, I can promise you his portfolio of work will. You see, Saki worked on Serial Experiments Lain, the 2001 Hellsing series, and as for director Keitara Motonaga, he's been responsible for directing Date Live, Get Backers, School Days, and even Higurashi. I won't lie, after discovering how many of the main creative leads involved in Malice Doll were also behind the creation of some of my favourite series, I was seriously geeked. What are the chances that as a hardcore Lain, Higurashi and horror stan, that I stumble across a new dark OVA series created by the same director and screenplay writer? Speaking of which, although the DVD in English would lead you to believe that this is actually a movie, in actuality Malice Doll was originally released as a 3-episode OVA, with the episodes being named Hard Fresh, Oral Infection, and Perverted Organism. All names that do make sense when you watch the show. And even more interestingly, the original OVA episodes actually had multiple different cover arts, 2 per individual episode, all of which blow the English DVD cover way out of the water. For episode 1, Hard Fresh, we have 1 CGI cover featuring Malice sitting in a dark, barren scientific chamber, whilst the other cover is this insanely beautiful 2D artwork of the human Malice holding another part of an abandoned robot. Chapter 2, Oral Infection, once again has a far better CGI rendered version of Malice, this time of her sitting atop this good versus evil throne whilst holding the head of her doll self. But man, the 2D covers keep getting better because this artwork of Malice is stunning. Super reminiscent of artwork from Ghost in Shell, and honestly just way better than anything CGI could do. And for episode 3, Perverted Organism, we have arguably the weakest CGI cover, but also arguably the best 2D artwork. It is criminal that none of this 2D artwork was available for the English release, even as an alternative cover. But I suppose for a Western audience, you could argue that this 2D artwork could misrepresent the animation quality of the actual movie. Speaking of which, we do need to talk about the animation before I can even fathom recommending this to you. Because I know for a lot of people, this type of early 2000s CGI is not something easily digested.
I am Doll, and I will give you a kiss.
Now, the elephant in the room is the rather outdated and rubbery-looking CGI. Something which was excusable in 2001 when this movie was released, but definitely a lot harder on the eyes over 20 years later. Cursed reminder, but people born in the 2000s are now old enough to drink. Scary. But the interesting process of Malice Doll is that it was built specifically around its budget limitations and animation constraints. Having stiff and cold character models simply wouldn't work if the characters were meant to be warm-blooded humans. And knowing this, the writer, Chiaki, decided that instead of focusing on humans, it would instead focus on these futuristic android women, utilizing the handicaps of affordable technology in order to suit the story that they're telling, something which they discuss in interview on the DVD's bonus features.
人形劇にしたかったですね。下から糸がついてこやるとか、あとパペットというかクレイアニメというか、ああいう感じのやりたくて、CG だからいつもこうカメラがブレてるとかそういうのはやめたいんで、いつも安定した固定した画面で。
私はだからその最初に監督に話したのがそのチェコとかそういうところの人形アニメなんですよ。それは人形劇の中にもいろいろあるけど、その粘土とかあるいは中に針金が入ってると一コマ一コマちょっとずつ動かして、
CG 屋さんはそこをあえて対抗してくれて、CG って言ってるんですけど正確に言うと書いてるんです、こうブラシかけて手書きでやってる最新技術は手書きですって言い切られたんでそうじゃないとできませんってアナログなことやってたってだからあそこまで逆に書き込めてるのがあるんですよね。
Although I won't lie, the 2000s interview rocking camera movement actually made me feel quite nauseated after a couple of rewatches. With MaliceDoll being so obscure, it was hard to find all the details about its production in English. However, the YouTube channel Fan of Obscure actually had a bunch of resources, including artwork scans, and even an interview in English from 2003 about MaliceDoll. This being hosted by Jonathan Clements at the London Sci-Fi Convention.
And the end result is a very interesting film as part of the history of computer animation in Japan. Unfortunately, it was delayed just by a few weeks because it's computer. If you've got it on your desk, you'll fiddle with it. You'll say, well, it's not quite finished. We'll just do one more thing. We'll just do one more thing. Give it another week. We'll have that shot right. It'll be sorted. And it was delayed just that little bit too long because the third film being made in the same year as Blood the Last Vampire and Malice Doll was Final Fantasy The Spirits Within, which cost $150 million and wiped the floor with everything. And that's the problem. Because by the time in 2001 that Malice Doll was originally released in Japan, the hype was up in the air for Final Fantasy. And everyone's talking about Final Fantasy, and everyone's talking about the motion capture in Final Fantasy and how much money it cost and how it was going to make, it was going to be really successful, apparently. It was going to be really successful. And so Malice Doll kind of sunk without a trace.
Being overshadowed by Final Fantasy The Spirits Within is rough work. The CGI for Final Fantasy simply just left MaliceDoll unable to compete, even despite its artistic direction. Even for the UK, it seems like MaliceDoll's launch went out with a whisper rather than a bang. Doomed to eBay listings from owners who know its value, but have no audience willing to pay for it. So I guess it's time to load up a DVD that may very well not have been played in over 20 years. Will MaliceDoll join my obnoxious repertoire of ego think piece anime? Or will I regret giving CEX my crisp 20 quid?
When a cyborg is giving life in a human body.
Okay, I was not expecting that DVD interface. This is sending me way back to my childhood. The weird, off-putting flashing imagery, the bold, gaudy background colors, and this crazy English dub.
I am Doll, and I will give you a kiss.
I have no idea why they decided to go with a stiff European accent for the quote that's plastered all over the front of the DVD. Not a capitalization in sight. Imagine falling asleep watching this and being shocked awake as a commanding Russian woman offers you affection.
I am Doll, and I will give you a kiss.
All whilst rave beats are blaring in the background. Such an absolute fever dream of a DVD menu screen. I love it. Hell yeah, graphic design is my passion.
I am Doll, and I will give you a kiss.
I could not have fathomed the rabbit hole of extra content when clicking on the bonus features of the DVD. Sure, you have your standard behind the scenes stuff like writer and director interviews. Please God, not again. But you're also treated to a character model section which shows different angles and the designs of all the dolls featured. And there's also an artwork section outside of this. Now you'd be forgiven if you think that the artwork section would be about character concepts or environment design. You know, any of the standard stuff for an artwork section of an anime DVD. But no, interestingly enough, the artwork section is actually dedicated to DVD covers of other niche Japanese media that apparently this company has also distributed. And searching up this company, Arts Magic 2003, onto Google, you get barely any results. But the ones that you do get are just confusing. For example, one entry that pops up thanks to Internet Archive is a set of 2 clips all about British railway transport. And if you click through Google Images, you get less than half a page of accurate results. Once again, with this either being content related to trains or a Japanese dark comedy movie called Hiruko the Goblin. I have no idea. What is happening? What is this? Wait, none of it makes any sense. Did they produce all of these? Like, did they distribute all of these? I don't get it. How are they producing railways full steam to Holyhead, but they're also producing Lone Wolf Club Sword of Vengeance? Steam engines of GWR! What a treat! Oh my god, there has to be them. It has to be them. This is 2003. Hiruko the Goblin? Oh my god, it kind of looks good though, actually. That practical effects kind of giving the Thing, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe I need to watch that. What the hell is going on? The Frontier? What the hell is this? Man of Frontier? Is this art? It is! artsmagic.co.uk! Look! artsmagic.co.uk. Do they still exist? Hold on. Unfortunately, trying to search the website cited on the DVD sadly only leads to a webpage that I can only imagine was fighting for its life to give me a Trojan. Okay, yeah, the website does not exist anymore. Yeah, artsmagic.co.uk is no more, I fear. So the only real remaining verified library of Arts Magic releases is in fact on the artwork section of this copy of Malice Doll. Such memorable titles like Baby Cart in the Land of Demons, or who could forget Princess from the Moon. To be honest though, some of these movies actually have solid productions and ratings behind them. And so low-key could actually be checking out if you enjoy obscure Japanese media or niche Japanese media if you're lucky enough to find an Arts Magic release in the UK. One of the last noteworthy things in the bonus menu is the trailers section, something which harbours one Malice Doll trailer and 2 other unrelated anime CGI titles. The first is Alice, a 2000s film about a young schoolgirl who has the opportunity to be sent into space, and of course, things go wrong and she is left stranded. According to the Wikipedia and the IMDb page, this was the first ever anime to be fully 3D CGI rendered. YouTuber Aim by Frame actually has a full video all about Alice, which I highly recommend checking out if you're interested. And there's also one other CGI animated trailer, this time being for the movie Blue Remains 2001. Arguably the most obscure of the 3, with only 2 reviews on IMDb and 45 ratings. It's a shame that Arts Magic is no longer going, because these trailers on the Malice Doll DVD actually inspired me to go and pick up these movies for £6 on Amazon. I have no idea how they still have these in stock on Amazon Prime, but I think I got the last 2 copies. Realistically, I don't know how good these movies will be, but if you'd like me to watch them and give you a review, I guess let me know. These definitely follow the Malice Doll book of CGI art covers because these don't look good. Speaking of which, it's actually time that we should watch Malice Doll.
I am Doll, and I will give you a kiss.
Stop it, please, I beg you!
Now, usually for a review, I would probably consider doing a retelling of every single OVA episode's plot beat by beat. Something which summarises a plotline and gives me an inroad to express my feelings about what happens. But as goofy and as stereotypical as it's gonna sound, I feel like Malice Doll is something that you need to experience. The world, the art, the characters, the meaning, all begs to be discovered and explored by each individual watcher. Sure, I went in knowing the plotline that the DVD synopsis told me, but actually watching Malice Doll kind of felt like flicking through the pages of a horror mangaka like Junji Ito for the first time. It's uncomfortable, unsettling, and leaves you with this feeling of voyeuristic shame. Although the CGI can sometimes feel like a never-ending PlayStation 1 cutscene, the way that the story has been crafted around its limitations quickly allow you to forget how dated and old this anime actually is. Each scene feels otherworldly and ethereal, very reminiscent of the dark, inviting labyrinths that the witches in Madoka Magica create. The space that Malice and the other robots occupy is familiar, but this constant oppressive darkness makes it feel like it no longer takes place on Earth. A limbo that holds memories of life, but only serves to shelter the mechanical imitations left behind. Dressed in rags and the uniform of her old profession, Malice wanders the desolate landscape desperately in need of repairs that only serve to prolong the inevitable. Her purpose has long been extinct, but with no humanity, she has no autonomy to want for anything more. And to me, that's what this anime is all about. The right to choose our destiny and what we do with our life. Malice couldn't choose her customers, how they treated her, what they did to her. She was totally obedient and subservient, experiencing human needs but with no feeling for herself whatsoever. How can you choose what you want for yourself when pain, pleasure, joy, and fear are all emotions foreign to you? When Malice's wish to be human is granted, we are first led to believe that the spirit of a young girl could be behind it, something which wouldn't be out of place in a Disney-esque fairy tale. But in reality, Malice's first experience of being human is violation, mirroring her experience of being inhuman. Phallic, unfeeling tendrils rip her apart from the inside out, leading her to believe that she'll simply cease to exist before they stop hurting her. Her rebirth into this biological being can be attributed to this trauma. Women's pain through penetration has given way to new human life. Malice can now feel things, confusion, joy, warmth, but this new body now separates her from all the robots and androids which were the closest thing that she ever had to a family. They fear her. She has the same biological makeup as their old clients, something which can make her unpredictable and dangerous to them. Doris warns a naive Heather to stay away because Malice is no longer Malice. But in her adoration, she succumbs to the oral infection that Malice's purpose now spreads. The kiss that was so readily given out of obligation now offers rebirth into something new. And Malice, in her eagerness to help her peers, does exactly what her old clients did to her, forcing her gift of life onto those who don't have the ability to comprehend it. And in turn, they also fall victim to the horrors of the flesh, forcing themselves upon the residents of this forgotten land, leading to immense scenes of body horror and post-human life. The leader of the dolls, Doris, watches as her found family are abused and transformed. Trying to escape the forceful advances of creatures she once trusted, her anatomy fails her. Her leg that needed oiling now slows her down in a scene which closely resembles situations of SA. The dolls, now despite being flesh and blood, look less human than ever. The bodies are now misshapen, degraded, and infected. They hurt or are hurt by every other living thing that they come into contact with. Some submerge themselves in the pain, whilst others are blinded by pleasure. Without their purpose, monotony is now replaced with chaos. Malice looks upon the spiderweb of pain that she's created and feels disgusted. Her dream was to be human and for the other dolls to be like her. But in forcing this selfish ambition, she's hurt the people she cares about. Malice Doll isn't a story to bring you action or vulgarity, despite what the 18 age rating might have you believe. The adult themes are used sparingly, never crossing into the bounds of exploitation or haname. Instead, this setting of an abandoned entertainment district, similar to red light areas like Kabukicho, is there to serve as a frame for the darker parts of humanity. The loss of oneself as you indulge in gambling, drinking, desire. Nightlife hubs are there to serve you a fantasy, take you away from the restrictions and constraints of day-to-day life and your 9-to-5 job. These dolls who once existed as a fantasy have fallen into ruin. This anime is a slow burn that leaves itself up for interpretation in the same capacity as Serial Experiments Lain. Sure, there is a conclusion and your standard beginning, middle and end, but the reason why the world is abandoned and where the humans went and why Malice's wish was granted is entirely up to the viewer's interpretation. It's a dark horror, but not so much in the sense that you'll be scared or disgusted, but more unsettled. As a woman, this anime kind of felt symbolic of womanhood, being held in a societal position of inherent nurture and care, expected to be subservient to male partners or co-workers or bosses, and inevitably being resented when we reject this role. Even the episode 3 title, Perverted Organism, harkens back to biblical concepts of women being a deformed version of man, and women taking on monthly cycles of pain as a punishment for Eve's sin and temptation. Even the design of Administrator Joe, this angelic figurine that protects the dolls, leans into this biblical, almost spiritual iconography. At one point, Administrator Joe can't understand as to why he's starting to listen and take orders from the dolls. Why suddenly them being human, them having humanity, makes him obey them. You could argue that in a 2025 landscape where The Handmaid's Tale feels more and more like a realistic glimpse into our future, that stories which center women in this way are more necessary than ever. Imperfect women who don't suit our narrative of a perfect victim or a perfect heroine. Cycles of abuse and rules around our own autonomy are themes very clearly seen throughout this 74-minute story. I know this might feel like a little bit of a reach, but to me, Malice Doll kind of feels a little bit like a feminist think piece. Obviously, this is just my personal interpretation, but I find it interesting that the only humanoid creatures that we see are only women. Every interpretation of a man is a machine, and even when Administrator Joe turns into a human, he isn't this beautiful creature there to protect women or be a love interest. He instead still looks like a monster, like an unnatural creature, just biological. Honestly, I feel like this miniseries is worth a watch for anyone who loves surrealist horror and body horror. Sure, it's not groundbreaking like its cyberpunk predecessors, but it is a genuinely entertaining watch from start to finish. I definitely feel like if this anime wasn't held back by its overshadowed release date or its limited animation style, it could easily hold the same cult following as series like Heibani Renmei and Alien 9. My advice is to go in with an open mind, because truly this anime is worth experiencing.
I am Doll, and I will give you a kiss.
Malice Doll got dealt a rough hand, and although apparently gaining critical and indie acclaim in its home country of Japan, it never really got the recognition it truly deserved within the wider anime community. It's a weird, unique, and at times genuinely sincere piece of storytelling that, at least to me, speaks to the experience of womanhood. And actually, low-key, I just love the fact that the dolls are dolls. Like, I kind of just like the fact that they're just referenced as dolls. I think that's kind of fun, rather than like they're robots or machines. They're called dolls. I guess because like love dolls, I guess that's kind of the point, but I like the fact they're called dolls. In fact, I liked Malice Doll so much that I wanted to see if they ever made any merchandise, because I'm a collector, and if I like it, it's going on the shelf. But with searching for any merchandise merchandise of Malice or any of the other dolls, there was only one piece of official merchandise listed on the official website. This being a 10-inch tall Malice doll produced by CJK. On myfigurecollection.com, you can actually see a couple of product images of this doll. And as of right now, apparently only 5 users on this website actually own it. Me and Venny in the comment section over here are down bad. If you somehow have this doll just battering around in your basement or your attic or on your shelf gathering dust, please, 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 please hit me up. I want this doll really badly. Sure, it's not the best piece of merchandise, but what can I say? I have a thing for cursed collectibles. And outside of this, the only other available merchandise just seems to be hardcover copies of the DVD. Something which has limited listings even in Japan, and so before I even hit upload or record on this camera, I actually ended up ordering a full bundle of every single episode with the alternative cover arts because I'm not taking the risk. I'm sorry, I just couldn't risk somebody sniping these before me if anyone watched this video and was inspired to get them. I had to make sure I got them. I really hope this video has inspired you to potentially go and watch this anime because I really think you should. And luckily for you, all 3 episodes with English subtitles are available for free on the Internet Archive. It's weird, obscure, and in my opinion, a pretty underrated piece of horror anime. But let me know down below, have you heard of this anime? Have you watched this anime? Do you own the Malice doll? And what other weird, obscure anime have you heard of or watched or own that you really don't think anyone else has ever heard of? And if you have any obscure anime that you'd love me to review or watch and give my feelings on, then also leave them down below. What can I say? I'm an ex-film student. I love picking things apart for their mise-en-scène and their color theory. I paid money for that degree and it's entirely redundant in a world of AI. It is miserable. And of course, now that I have Patreon set up, I want to thank my Patreons. A big thank you to Fable from Tokyo, Lace Heart, Nina Hopkins, and JMNR16. Supporting me over on Patreon really helps when it comes to spending time on scripting, researching, and doing really long projects like my last video on anime conventions and cosplay. Literally, that last video took me about a week of back-to-back editing, just sweating away in my office, so go and check it out if you haven't already, and of course, supporting me on Patreon helps make that kind of content even more doable. But if you can't afford Patreon, then please don't worry, I know we're down bad in 2025. There is a cheap and free way of supporting me, and that is literally by clicking the subscribe button and the bell icon beside it and dropping a comment and leaving a like. If you love what I do and you'd like to see daily uploads and just what I get up to in my spare time, then go and check out my TikTok and my Instagram. And of course, as always, it is time for the end of the video outfit check and some of your amazing fan art. Bye! Hello, it is time for the end of the video outfit check and some of your fan art. On my head, as we've seen before, we have my AliExpress aviator goggles. They're cheap, cheerful, and they have survived a hell of a lot of suitcases and flinging about, so they're pretty good. Next up, my 2 necklaces are from Named Collective and from Vivienne Westwood. I have this really cheap, kind of crappy fishnet top as like an underlayer. And on top, I have this Sea Fierce sleeveless hoodie, which I won't lie is pretty cute, but I never really get an opportunity to wear it. So what do we think? Do you think it's cute? Should I wear it this summer? I don't know. Is it cute? I think so. I quite like it. I was trying to give futuristic. And then on the bottom we have my Wago cargos, which I think you've seen before as well, but I got them in Japan last year and honestly they are still some of my favorite trousers and they get a hell of a lot of wear. Also, as a little bonus, I got my nails done and I really wanted to show you because I usually can't get gems on my nails, mainly because I just get like overstimulated if like the gems snag on my hair or my clothing, but this time I was able to get them and they don't snag on anything because they've been done like super well. So I got these really cute like little junky nails with all these little gems and stuff on them. They're super cute. It's my new nails. I got them done. Thank you as always for watching the video and I'll see you next time. Bye!